don't be a jerk. You being difficult, man.
Get out of the car!
Get your talking to?
Stop!
You a pussy. Get this out of here. You motherfucker.
Down.
On September 30th, 2021, something cringeworthy and disrespectful happened at the Batavia Downs building when an intoxicated lady tried to physically assault a police officer and accused him of being racist. Gangsters, life-threatening drunks and drug abusers seem to think they have some sort of written right to do whatever they want. But when they get arrested and charged for several felonies, they try to play the victim card.
Get out of here. Get out of here.
Yeah, I'm gonna walk.
All right.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Walk.
Go.
Yo, don't do that,
I just
don't
want to
fucking
reiterate.
do that.
You end up coming back here.
No, I ain't end up coming back nowhere.
Okay,
I'm good.
stop
I'm
stopping.
good.
Keep going.
I'm good. I'm good. Because he being an asshole and he being an asshole.
Offered you a ride.
It don't matter. You don't have to offer me a ride.
All right, then get off the property.
Don't be an asshole.
Get off the property
At the end of the day,
Tammy,
no matter whoever did
Tammy, I'm
this
going to count to 10, and if you aren't off the property, you're going to jail for
Are you
trespassing.
serious?
1,
Just an asshole.
2, 3, 4. All right.
It is a crime to drive under the influence or while on drugs. But this law seems to be broken almost every single day by uncivilized individuals. Let's talk about this woman, Tamaneka Perez-Smith, who was arrested for crashing into not one, but 3 cars, including one that belonged to a police officer while driving under the influence and on probation. She threatened a police officer and tried to physically assault him while verbally abusing him. She resisted arrest and continuously tried to put up a fight.
Get out of the car! Get out of the car! Get out of the car!
get out of the car now. Get out of the car.
Get out of the car! Get out of the car!
Get out.
Get out of the car! Put it in park!
Oh,
Put it in park, Kenny.
wait, why are you like this? Hold on.
Tammy was intoxicated with morphine and oxy and lied about it. She threatened to beat up and set up the officer who arrested her. She also refused to cooperate with the police while they tried their best to work with her. Now, who is Tammy Smith and how did she get in trouble with the police after causing an accident on the road? On September 30th, 2021, police officers received a complaint about a drunk woman who puked in the Batavia Downs building, and they rushed to the scene to find out what happened.
Ma'am,
Yes.
you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Well, it sounds like you puked on the ground. You okay?
No, I didn't, but
Okay.
like,
Listen, they want you to leave, so we gotta go.
okay.
All right, thank you.
When the police officers got to the building, they met a very rude and uncooperative woman who refused to do as she was told. She looked drunk and confused while she asked to leave the building. The police officers followed her out to get the right details, and that is when the drama began. She was asked a very simple question: "What is your name?" But this woman refused to cooperate immediately and decided to use a nickname instead. She introduced herself as Tammy Smith, but the police officers were not having it and insisted that she told them her full name.
Who are you? Tammy what?
My name is Tammy Smith.
Tammy, your full first name?
Yeah.
Do you have anything in your purse that could confirm that,
Like
or are
a
you still looking?
credit card or something?
Tammy tried walking away without the police officer's consent, so she was asked to wait. One of the police officers, who seemed to be the one in charge, asked for her full name and ID. These are very normal means of identification, but Tammy took forever to cooperate. She started making up excuses and coming up with a lot of things to say. But one thing that really caught the attention of the policeman was the fact that she said she was on probation. Yes, Tammy was on probation and also seemed to have a bandage on her finger. These were suspicious occurrences, and the fact that she tried to get away from the police instead of actually cooperating was suspicious. Tammy spent minutes asking why the police officers wanted to know who she was, instead of actually telling them who she really was. She repeatedly called the police officers a jerk and said he was being unreasonable. Yes, Tammy really tried to play the victim game and act like she wasn't the one who was actually being unreasonable and withholding information from the police. She insisted on going to COs instead of answering the questions she was asked by the officers. Her attitude and desire to withhold information gradually got out of control, and she started snapping at the police officers. They tried to reason with her, but she got offended and decided to be bratty instead of reasonable. She accused the officer of being confrontational several times and refused to listen to him. The officer made it clear to her that she was the one being confrontational, and all they needed from her was her ID. After some time, Tammy finally told them her full name, but when she was asked to spell it, she took offense. She got offended by something as simple as spelling her own name. If you think this is all the drama she had to offer, think again, because she had more. The police officer noticed how intoxicated and unstable she was, so he offered to give her a ride home, but instead of actually accepting the kind gesture, Tammy refused. Note that she had already puked in the Batavia Downs building and was notably drunk. It's only common sense that a person in that kind of state shouldn't even attempt to drive, but this lady was bent on being difficult. She kept repeating the fact that she was on probation and had an injured finger. It was obvious that she was trying to avoid the questions she was being asked and chose to deviate instead. While the back-and-forth conversation was going on between Tammy and the police officers, she suddenly got emotional and started crying.
They will pay me for today.
Let me get your ID, Tammy.
Yeah, I don't understand what I'm going through.
I'm not going to pretend that I understand what you're going through. What's in your
You
shoes.
can never understand what I'm going through because I had a broke ankle.
All right.
For 8 months.
All I need, Tammy, is your ID.
And then I got it re-injured. And then I had that shit going through for another 4 weeks.
Tammy, let's
And then I had my fingertip cut off.
Okay. Let's get your ID, Tammy.
On the fact that my daughter accidentally put it through the door. And they put it through as some domestic violence, but it was my baby girl who's 12.
Tammy, it sounds like you're going through a lot lately.
Yeah, I'm not,
Okay, well then let's end this interaction.
You got me out here on some dumb shit.
We are only here as a repercussion of your actions. They kicked you out because you had too much to drink.
According to her, she was just trying to make money and she had been working hard for 5 months. The police officer tried to be reasonable and explained to her that it was important for him to see her ID, since it was part of his job to identify who he was speaking to. Tammy eventually told the police officers that she had been to her probation officer already. The officers made it clear that they were not interested in speaking to her probation officer and just wanted to do their job. While the police officers were still trying to properly identify her, she got emotional and told them she got her vaccination earlier that day because she would have been fired if she didn't. Not that these were not the questions she was asked, but she chose to tell them these things instead of actually answering the questions she was asked. Tammy repeatedly told the police officers they could never understand what she was going through. She got triggered by common statements and started acting like they were trying to pick a fight with her, when all they tried to do was have a reasonable conversation with her. She started telling them personal things about herself and made it look like she had a right to behave however she wanted, because she had a lot of personal issues in her life. After minutes of going through her bag, she finally found her ID card and handed it over to the police officers. After confirming her ID, they returned the card and asked to offer a ride one more time, but she refused. When asked where she planned to go from there, she ignored the question and started walking away. She still tried arguing while she reluctantly walked away, so the officers asked her to leave the property immediately. She finally left the property after verbally abusing the officers and calling them assholes when all they wanted to do was help. Everyone thought it was over, but they were wrong. They got to meet Tammy again, but this time it was after she caused an accident. As a result of her irresponsible driving, 3 cars were hit on the road, and one of them belonged to one of the police officers that sent her out of the property. The police officers told her to get out of the car and arrested her immediately for driving while intoxicated, being impaired with drugs, and hitting cars on the road. Tammy resisted the police and repeatedly abused them verbally because she felt like they had no right to arrest her, even after she was clearly told why she was being arrested. She tried to pick up a fight and continuously threatened one of the police officers who she seemingly disliked. Even on her way to the police station, she repeatedly threatened the police officer who drove her there. She engaged in verbal banters with him and said many abusive words to him. She was extremely disrespectful and had no regard for the law of the rules. She acted like she had a right to behave however she wanted and not get reprimanded. Tammy went to the extent of threatening the life of the police officer and telling him she had his name and number in memory so she could find him later. All the threats and rants were recorded on camera. Even when they reached their destination and other officers joined the scene, she tried to confront the police officer yet again. She got emotional and started crying, all the while calling the police officer all sorts of degrading and utterly disrespectful names. She went to the extent of saying she would physically assault the police officer, and could do that because her brothers and nephews were all state boxing champions. It was quite obvious that she was trying to threaten the officer. It was a very heated argument, and it was so heated that she didn't try to pay attention to the questions she was being asked by the other officers. Tammy repeatedly suggested that she would beat up the police officer when she was released, and had the opportunity of seeing him again. She got to the point of actually trying to reach for the officer, and getting her hands on him despite the fact that the other officers tried to stop her and carefully interrogate her. She continuously made matters worse for herself, and did nothing to help herself at all. Even while they tried searching her, she resisted and focused on abusing the officer. Shy got really physical, but thankfully, the police officers were there to keep her in check. While this was going on, things intensified even more when the same police officer she had been assaulting tried to come read something out for her. It was his job and he was required to do it, but Tammy fled up and refused to listen to him.
What? You fuck off because you got a badge? Fuck you, bitch! Fuck you, bitch! Fuck you! Fuck you! Fucking pussy!
She insisted on having another person read it out because she wasn't ready to listen to whatever the police officer had to say. She even went to the extent of requesting 10 seconds with him so she could beat him up and teach him a lesson. They tried to convince her, but she started to get physical and engaged in a back-and-forth argument with the police officer. After some time, the police officer finally gave up and left. When he left, she still abused him verbally and kept on making references to him. She also said some disrespectful words to the other officers who tried to keep her in check. Tammy kept implicating herself by repeatedly admitting to being on morphine and oxy. It was clear that she was too intoxicated to understand the weight of her words or the things she was saying. She also accused the police officer of invading her privacy by searching her car and purse. She just kept on talking. At some point, they had to leave her in a room alone so she could cool off and stop trying to cause more drama. She repeatedly made reference to being treated roughly because of her race and accused the police officer of being racist. They had to make it clear to her that it was not a matter of race but following the law. One officer told her that they needed to conduct chemical tests on her to determine what drugs she was on as per protocol. She asked for water, but was told they could only give her water after conducting the tests. Finally, after the tests we conducted and Tammy was charged with DWA drugs, a Class E felony, DWI, a Class E felony, resisting arrest, operating motor vehicle without interlock device, leaving the scene of a property damage accident, failure to yield to an emergency vehicle, failure to move over for an emergency vehicle, insufficient turn signal, less than 100 feet, failure to stop at a stop sign, moving from a lane unsafely, and unlicensed operator after operating her vehicle erratically. These charges were all as a result of her negligence and irresponsibility.